Okay, everyone, welcome again, and thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's webinar. Thank you so much for coming. If you'd like to tell me who you are and where you're from in the chat room or the Q&A section, that would be fantastic. That would let me know who you are and what part of the country or what part of the world you're from. Our subject tonight, and I think somebody has communicated with me, so let me just put on my dark glasses. I look kind of strange in these dark glasses, I think. So. Hi Denise, how you doing? Long time I haven't spoken to you. Welcome, and thank you so much for letting me know you're here. Appreciate that very much. And I think somebody else has also communicated with me, so let me just check and that. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Great to have you, and hope we can talk sometime. Right. The subject tonight is the art of presentation and public speaking skills. I just want to share with you a few tips of what I've used over the last 32 years to enable me, in fact, to actually speak and to present to companies, to private section, to private companies, public sector organizations, and so on. So I will do so. But before I go, I want to get started, should I say. I want to just introduce myself to those of you who don't know me. I'm happily married with 6 children, 6 grandchildren, senior pastor, taught systematic theology for over 10 years, 35 years experience in community initiatives, something that I am so excited about. 32 years in management training. So some of the things I want to share with you tonight is as a result of those 32 years of experience. Motivational speaker, internet expert, web designer, and also a professional photographer. Software skills trainer. I regard myself as a life improvement coach. I am the author of these 4 books, really 4 exciting books. Obviously, I would say that. Books that I have certainly enjoyed writing, and hopefully, you know, it has been a blessing to those who have had an opportunity to read those. Was a parliamentary candidate in the 2010 general election, didn't win a seat, but there you have it. And I have quite a few hobbies and things that I love to do from time to time: chess, backgammon, dominoes, avid sports player when I get a chance to play squash and things like that. So that's enough about me. Subject tonight is the art of presentation and public speaking skills. If you do have any questions or any comments, please do not hesitate to you know, put that in the chat room or in the Q&A section. I will go through speedily, and we will send out the recorded you know, recording of this particular presentation to you if you want to. But make your notes also if you want the PowerPoint slides, which comes with this, then delighted to send it to you. My email address is at the bottom there. You can use that one, or you can use the one that you know from me, and I will send it to you directly. All right. The objective really is just to share with you 13 tips to help you improve your presentation and public speaking skills. I have taught this to hundreds of individuals in South Africa, Dubai, Europe, and mostly in the United Kingdom. Many companies that I've had the opportunity, company like Cisco. Cisco is one of the largest companies in the world. They're based almost everywhere, if you like. So I've had the opportunity of traveling to different parts of the world, different parts of Europe, delivering presentation skills to them. And normally this presentation skills is over 2 days, and I'm using video and feedback through video and so on. So I just want to share with you what I've shared with them. Obviously, we won't be able to do any video role plays as such, but I'll be able to share with you these tips, techniques, ideas, principles, and strategies for becoming a far better and effective and efficient presenter and public speaker. Okay, let's get going. What is presentation? And it's a very important question, and this is after years of asking these questions to managers, to supervisors, to leaders, to executives, and you know, when I put them into group and they've come back, and you know, this statement really identifies what they have been saying over the years. Presentation is about communicating, it's about influencing, it's about persuading and selling. And I think those 4 words are very important for you to get a hold of. It's about communicating, all right? It's about influencing, it's about persuading, it's about selling. So anytime you're communicating, whenever you're communicating, you're presenting. I often ask people in a training course, how long have you been presenting? And they would say to me 3 years, some would say 4 years, some would say 10. And I would ask them, how old are you? And they would say, well, I'm 55. And I said, well, haven't you been presenting for 55 years? Yes, you have. You've been communicating, you've been influencing, you've been persuading, you've been selling. Selling what? Ideas, want, needs, or benefits. So every time you communicate or you influence or you persuade someone or you're trying to sell to someone an idea, a want, a need, or a benefit, you are really presenting. And that's something a lot of people don't realize. And I hope that makes sense to you. Now, there are certain things I'll go through. Each one forms one of the letters down the side. You can see the first letter changes to blue, which is P. And I call P preparation, preparation, preparation. Whenever you're going to present or do a public presentation or public engagement or speaking, first thing you want to make sure you do is preparation, preparation, preparation. Know your audience that you're going to present to, research and know your facts, prepare your notes, memorize your introduction, rehearse your presentation to perfect it. One of the things that I do a lot, which gets rid of a lot of my fears and a lot of those nervousness, is I always rehearse the presentation at the beginning. I always rehearse the introduction, always. And that helps me to get rid of those butterflies and those fears at the initial start of your presentation. So I would strongly recommend that you look at this area of preparation, preparation, preparation. Now, I have never ever put a class, if you like, into a group, and this P or preparation is never on the list. It's always on the list. It's always within the top 5, or in most cases the top 3. In most cases the number 1 thing that's on their list. It's about preparation, preparation, preparation. The more prepared you are, the more better you put yourself, the more better you position yourself to give a really powerful presentation. Okay, so always bear this in mind. Preparation, preparation, preparation. If there's nothing you remember from tonight's presentation, remember P, preparation, preparation, preparation. The more prepared you are, the better you stand a chance of giving a presentation. And even as I give this presentation tonight, I had to prepare myself. I had to prepare the slides. I had to prepare the technologies. Quite a lot of things that goes into doing this presentation. In fact, it could take days just getting ready. Even having the screen behind me, it's not really a screen, it's a green screen, so I can put any picture up there. It takes a lot. So preparation, preparation, preparation. Okay, let me move on to the second one, which is R. R really stands for resources. The room layout, the tables, the chairs. If you are going to give a presentation and you are going to give it in a room of some kind, you want to know the tables layout, the chair layout. Are you going to be using a PowerPoint presentation? Are you going to be using a lectern, a computer-aided multimedia projection, or are you going to give a handout, etc.? Whatever resources that you're going to use, you ought to be aware of that, and you ought to be skilled at using them, or have somebody who is skilled at using them. Because there is a saying that says, if something can go wrong, the chances are it will go wrong. You know, for example, I'm using quite a lot of resources right now. I'm using this microphone. I'm using this webcam that's looking at me. I'm using my lighting in front of me, my light to the right. I'm using this laptop. I'm using this table and desk. And anything can go wrong at any time. And therefore, it's very important, therefore, that you know the resources you're using and that you're able to know about them. So if anything goes wrong, you're able to actually attend to it as quickly as possible. Or if you can't, at least you know somebody on hand who can actually help you to sort it out straight away. Because as I say again, if anything can go wrong, the chances are it will. So for example, if my bulb blow right now, I would actually be in darkness. Though you'll be able to hear me, I would still be in darkness because my lighting is gone. So, you know, you need to know your resources, have your backups, and so on. So know your resources. Okay, that's very, very important. Okay, let's move on to point number 3, which is E, enemies. Enemies of presentation. This is so important. There is an enemy of presentation. What is the enemy? Lack of preparation. So if you're not prepared, it's an enemy. Okay, nervousness and fear. That's one of the biggest enemy of presentation and public speaking. In fact, when people do a survey as to what is one of their biggest fears in life, public speaking is one of their biggest fear, because sometimes they're not prepared, and even when you're prepared, sometimes you can actually have nervousness and fear. Poor communication, not communicating properly, either speaking too fast, as I am right now, or you're speaking too slow and you're putting your audience to sleep. So you got to go at the right pace and so on. Normally, when you're doing a webinar, you need to actually up the game a bit, simply because people who are watching might be doing other things, because oftentimes it's very rare that you get someone watch these webinars and they're not multitasking. And, you know, many people, they're always multitasking. They're writing a letter, they're drinking a cup of tea, they're doing this, that, and the other. And so when you present on a webinar, there are certain other skills that we have to use. Difficult people. Sometimes, yes, difficult people are in the presentation. People who ask you some very awkward question, they try to show you up or trip you up. Now, I've had 32 years of experience of doing presentation, and I've hardly ever had difficult people. Well, people say I have them, but I just don't treat them as difficult people, because I guess I learned how to deal and cope with all different types of people in the classroom over 32 years experience. Poor structure and delivery. If you don't have your presentation structure down, it could actually be an enemy to you and to the audience that you're presenting to, because people need to know where they are at each stage. Now, if you notice, I've given you the context or the content right over on the left. I've also given you the objective. I've also told you how long the presentation is going to be. So I've given you a very good structure, and now I'm going through that delivery stage using PowerPoint and various different techniques. Also, one of the biggest enemies, and I think probably this is the biggest enemy, is the presenter, me or you. When you're presenting, if you're not in the right frame of mind, etc., and you're not doing the right things and not prepared yourself, then obviously you, the presenter, could be the biggest enemy. So I believe the biggest enemy to presentation, without a shadow of a doubt to me, is the presenter. The second biggest one, again, which is all about the presenter, him or herself, is nervousness and fear, and then lack of preparation, and so on and so forth. So always remember, preparation, preparation, preparation. The more prepared you are, the more you put yourself in a position to succeed. Okay, know your resources, and also know that enemies of presentations do exist. All right, let's look at structure and delivery then, as my fourth area of the 13 in terms of the art of presentation and public speaking. You should always have a structure as you deliver your presentation. For example, I think one of the best structure, these are the three that I use actually. I call it BME and AIDA and the 4 Ps. Now, you should always have a beginning, the takeoff, the middle, the flight, the end, the landing. You know, pilots always say, and we've heard them say, that the hardest part of flying a plane is the takeoff and the landing. In other words, the beginning and the ending. And that is also true of presentations. The beginning and the ending of presentations and public speakings are oftentimes the place where most people fail. That's why I always say to people, rehearse the beginning, rehearse the first part of it, and make sure you have a good ending. And as you go through the middle, then people should know exactly where they are as they go through the presentation. Just like I am making you aware of where I am in the presentation based upon those 13 points you can see down the left, which is called presentations. Another technique and another structure that I often use is what I call AIDA: attention, interest, desire, and action. So you want to get the person's attention, you want to get them interested in what you're saying, you want to create desire and move them to action. All depends on the type of presentation that you choose to give. Now, I used to watch 40 Towers with John Cleese, a very, very powerful and funny guy. Well, he left 40 Towers and went into a company called Video Arts and set up a company called Video Arts, which is a training company making training films. One of the films that I watched of the training program that he did was known as the 4 Ps: position, problem, possibilities, proposal. I think probably these 4 Ps are probably the 4 greatest structure that I've ever come across. Okay, what's the position? Well, I'm on my way to Birmingham, and I'm on the M6 traveling and down the M6. The problem, well, I've broken down. Possibilities, well, I could call the AA. I can call a friend of mine to give me a tow down. I could actually leave the car and walk, etc., etc., etc. Proposal, well, I think I'll call it AA. That might be the easiest and best solution since I'm a member of the AA. So you can see, you can present, you could say, well, right, this is the position that we have in the organization, or this is the position that we have with this particular project. The problem is X. The possible ways or solution to it are these, and here's my proposal. But the point I'm making is this: you should always have a structure, even if it's as simple as a beginning, a middle, and an end. People need to know where you are throughout the presentation, so it keeps them actually engaged as much as possible. I hope that makes sense. All right. Evaluation. Evaluation is a powerful thing. It's the same word as to review or to evaluate. Same word. You know, I always say to presenters and public speakers, you should fall in love with feedback. Love feedback, because people will give you feedback providing you are sensitive enough, and so long as you are not sensitive to the information, so you get upset and hurt too easily, but so long as you are receptive to that information, people will give you good feedback. All right, they will tell you where you have gone wrong, and you need positive and critique, really, so that you can improve next time. People have often told me things that I do during my presentation and public speaking engagement, and I'm absolutely shocked that I do that, or I've said that, or I've used the same word over and over and over. And it's only when I go back and listen to the recording I realize, oh my days, look what I've done, over and over and over again. So allow people to give you feedback. Love feedback. Have I achieved my objective? This is one of the questions you want to ask yourself. And you want to ask yourself the same question during the presentation. Am I achieving that objective? You know, people have actually come to listen to me, to listen to you, and so on. They're spending their time, they're giving up their time to listen to you. You want to ask yourself the question, have I achieved my objective, or am I achieving that objective? How appropriate is my planning and preparation? What were my strengths and weaknesses, and what have I learned for the next time? You should always evaluate, always evaluate. Oftentimes, even when I do these webinars, I often phone somebody and say, well, were you watching the webinar? And they said, yeah, I was. What do you think? And they will give me their views. And I always say to them, you know, I want to hear the things that you don't think I want to hear, because those are the things I really want to hear. I want to hear the things that will improve me, because if I can improve, I'm getting better, isn't it? So always, key point, love feedback. And you know, I always I'm amazed that when people are getting feedback or they're receiving feedback, how upset they get and how mad and how irate they become because someone is giving them their views. Now listen to this carefully. You may do the greatest presentation on the planet, and yet there was someone in the audience that didn't see it the way you saw it. Always important. If I never get to this tip, always, whenever you're doing a presentation or public speaking, always have an handkerchief nearby and some water. Always. Let me say this again. So it's what I call master tips. Always have a glass of water, even if you don't drink water, or even if you're not going to drink the water, make sure you have some somewhere. You never know when your throat might get dry or your throat becomes tickly like mine right now. And I'm feeling it right now. You never know. And so just a little tip of water. You'd be amazed how that little sip of water could help you throughout your presentation. And always have an handkerchief, just in case something comes through your nose or your mouth. You certainly don't want to use your hand to wipe it away, because people will never forget your presentation if you do that. Okay. All right, let me move on to nonverbal communication in presentation and public speaking. Non-verbal communication is your body language. Okay, there are three areas really, in a sense: your body language, your tone of voice, and your words. Now, I had words in just to show you a point. There was some research done some time ago which shows how we receive information or how we communicate. And when you're communicating to an audience, They are understanding what you're saying based upon three elements or three areas: body language, tone of voice, and words. Body language make up 55% of what the people understand or understood. Your tone of voice is 38%. So 93% of what the people understood from your presentation and your public engagement is done subconsciously through body language. A lot of people, a lot of presenters and public speakers are not aware of this information. So it's vitally important, therefore, that you pay close attention to your body language and to your tone of voice. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Because only 7% of what the people understood or take from you came through words. So people are watching you. They're watching the way you dress, your appearance. They're looking at your mouth. They're all kind of areas of your body. They are actually watching, and they're picking up information. Remember again, 55% of that information comes through your body language, through your gesture, through your posture. Are you with me? Through your eyes, movement of your eyes, your lips, your mouth, etc. And 38% is through the way you said what you said, through your tone of voice, the rhythm, the speed, the volume, the pitch, etc. But only 7% amounts from your words. So 93% is done subconsciously, to which many of us are not aware of. So remember, nonverbal communication when you're presenting the next time. Now, this is another area that most people in presenting and public speaking are not very, very good at, and I call it Q&A, or question and answers. You will always get question and answers. You will always get it. So I use this very, very simple memory technique. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to say all of these every time a question is asked of you, but you want to thank the person for asking the question. You may want to rephrase it if you feel it's necessary, and then you answer it. And this is something that most presenters don't do, I find. They don't confirm with the person whether they actually understood what you have answered. And it's always a very good technique to say, Johnny, is that okay? Are you clear about what I've said? And they may say, no, I'm not actually. Allow them again to ask their question. Thank them for asking the question. Rephrase the question if it's necessary. Always answer it. Check if they understand, and thank them again. So somebody asked me a question. Sometimes I might say something like, great question. That is a thanking them for the question. I appreciate that point that you've asked. I appreciate the question. Oh, it's a very, very good question, in fact. I really do appreciate it. So if I understand the question, what you're really saying is, and I repeat it in my own words, and then they give me the confirmation. And I said, okay. And I give them the answer. I said, how do you feel about that answer? Oh, Errol, that was great. Thank you so much. Well, thank you again, Johnny, for asking that. Appreciate that. Are there any more questions? And so always practice Q&A and give people opportunity to ask questions. Now, one of the things I've noticed about a lot of presenters is this. They're doing all the talking, okay? They're doing a lot of talking. And then somebody in the audience who've just been listening, put their hand up to ask the question. And halfway through them asking the question, the presenter starts to answer it. That's bad presenting. Allow the person to finish. They're probably only going to speak for 2 minutes throughout the entire session, or 1 minute even. Allow them to finish. Let them finish. Give them time, a few seconds after, to get what they have inside of them out. And then you can go into thanking them, rephrasing, answering, checking, and thanking them again. So you don't have to use all 5 of these points. You can just use 1 or 2 or 3 or all 5. Sometimes I only use 2 or 1. Sometimes I use all 5. It all depends on how I feel at the time that the question was asked and the way it progressed. All right? Hope that makes sense. All right. Assertive behavior. When you're presented, let me say this to you quite clearly, and I think most of you may know this. People buy from people they like. And you know, this is such an important point. People listen to people they like. And I always say to people, you must maintain an assertive behavior. Assertiveness really means to state your needs, wants, feelings, opinions, or beliefs in a very clear, direct, specific, honest, and loving way. And it's never, this is the key, and never at the other person's expense. Not at the expense of the others or the other person. Never upset your audience, no matter how stupid you think they're behaving, no matter how difficult you think they are being. Never insult your audience, because oftentimes what I discover, if you insult Fred, you also insult Fred's friend or Fred or his associates. Does that make sense? So I always, you know, over the last 32 years, make sure I do not get on the wrong side of another person, no matter what they do. I give you an example of something that happened to me some time ago. I was helping out a young lady who was going through a teacher training program. So she needed to organize a training session and get a trainer to come in and deliver the training for her. I think I was delivering the training on time management, I think it was, on that Friday evening. So it was a 2.5 hour session. And she designed the course. When I say designed the course, she organized and invited people to come along, do their leaflet and invite people. But her tutor is also sitting there to assess the effectiveness of what she has done. So there I am, about to get started. So at the start of it, everyone came in, they sat down, and most of the people that were there were her friends or even family. So I said to everyone, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell me what you would like to gain out of the next 2.5 hour session on time management. Well, the first young lady, she said something like, well, I'm only here to see if you can teach me anything. I thought, wow. And what did I do? I thanked her. I said, thank you so much for coming, and I appreciate that. Please let me know at the end if there was anything that was useful for you. You see the way I responded? Okay, other people introduced themselves, and another person at the end of the, coming around the end, said, well, I'm only here, my name is so-and-so, and I'm only here to see if you can keep me awake. I thought to myself, really? Well, I didn't say that, obviously, but I responded to her and said, well, thank you so much. I'm glad that you're here, and I hope to keep you awake, and I hope you don't ever fall asleep. No one's ever fallen asleep in my sessions, but I hope that tonight is not the first. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate that. You know, when the course was finished, those were the two people who came to me and said, thank you so much. I learned so much. Thank you for keeping me awake. Now, if I had insulted them by using some insultative method, they would have been my enemy, not just throughout the course, probably for the rest of my life. So be honest with yourself and with others. Be confident, positive, and understanding. Be confident, be positive, and understanding. After all, they were coming to listen to me. I wasn't the one going to listen to them. You see the point? So my confidence level was high. I was positive. I was understanding. And do to others as you would have them do to you. You know, I travel a lot around the world to deliver training programs to companies, and 99.999% of those organizations are white. White executive, white managers, white leaders. There's hardly any blacks in front of me. You know, the odd one or two which may present themselves on the course. And, you know, oftentimes I always get this impression that a lot of the white folks, when they walk into the room and they see me, is like, what is this? What can he teach us? What does he know? And I am so confident, not aggressive, not passive, because I refuse to be passive, and I also refuse to be aggressive. So what do? I remain confident. And do you know what happened? Within the first 5 minutes, I have them eating out of the palm of my hands because of the knowledge that I express in that classroom because of my experience. And so I don't worry about whether I'm black going into a white organization, because I know the moment I open my mouth to speak and the value of what I bring to the marketplace is indeed exactly what they need. And so I do not worry myself about that. But you want to be assertive. You don't want to become nervous and fearful and become very passive and very shy and intimidated or be manipulated by other people because of what they may think, say, or do. No, you want to believe in yourself. You want to have confidence in yourself. But at the same time, be very positive and very, very respectful. One of the things I always share in time management is this, is be ruthless with time, but gracious with people. Oh, this is a very powerful statement you want to make a note of. Be ruthless with time, but very gracious with people. All right, let me move on to my next point. Whenever you're presenting and doing public speaking, you want to bear in mind certain techniques that you can use. One of the most powerful techniques I've ever come across in giving presentation and public speaking is tell stories. As a matter of fact, if you know the man Jesus Christ, that's what he did. In fact, he told 46 parables in the New Testament. Those are the ones that's recorded, because there were many other parables he gave, but they were not recorded. But he was a storyteller. He was the master storyteller of all times. No one could tell a story like Jesus the Christ. So the more you tell stories, the better it is. Now, I was running a program many years ago. It was called Advanced NLP, or Neuro Linguistic Programming. Over 3 days, that program was being run in a hotel. And I remember, not in an hotel, but it was in a particular organization. In fact, it wasn't the hotel, a particular organization. I was staying in the hotel for the 2 nights, but it was a particular business. And I organized my slides. I got all my PowerPoint ready. I got all the handouts ready. And a few nights before the presentation, I decided to do a little bit of research on the internet, and I came across someone that was talking about a neuro-linguistic program that they went on, an NLP. They went on a 3-day advanced NLP program, and they was mesmerized by the program. And the thing he said that mesmerized them, that the trainer stood there with a whiteboard and his pen and just told stories for 3 days. I thought, wow, I wonder if I did that, what would happen? So I decided, you know, I would still bring my PowerPoint slides and all of that stuff, but I'm just going to tell stories. And for 3 days, I told stories, and I used the whiteboard, and I explained myself through stories. And do you know, the feedback I got from that particular program was the greatest feedback I've ever received in 32 years. And there were only 3 white women on the program. That was what was amazing. One of the hardest training courses to run, by the way, is when you only have 3 people. It really is difficult. 2 is even harder, all right? But 3 is difficult. I think I traveled all the way to South Africa, and when I got to the training program, there was only 1 person there for the program. Only 1 out of 12. Only 1 turned up, and then we had to go and find some other people. But those experiences, in fact, can indeed provide some of the most valuable learning of your life, and certainly did for me, indeed. Throughout your presentation, if the type of presentation calls for role plays, do role plays, okay? Depending on what kind of you know, program you're running, you could do role plays, because telling stories and role plays really get people involved. Use pictures and charts and graphs, okay? Maintain eye contact with your audience, like I'm maintaining with you right now. I'm looking into your eyes. Hopefully, if you're watching me right now, I'm looking directly into the camera. So, I mean, I could look away from the camera, and it becomes so impersonal because I'm not looking at you. But when I look up and look at you, I'm looking, you know, it feels more personal, okay? Sometimes I look away because I have to read the screen, etc. Or if I need to grab some water over here and make sure I grab the right thing, then I will go away and come back. Don't use big words and long sentences when you're doing presentations, okay? Don't try to impress your audience, because they won't be impressed. I've had lots of people who, they speak these big words, you know, sagacity and lore and, you know, dichotomy and all these kind of big words to try and impress people with their knowledge. And the people in the audience are sitting there thinking, what did he say? What did she say? I don't have a clue, because I don't understand. You know, I was actually in a training course many years ago, and there's around 100 people in the room, and the presenter says the dichotomy of the situation was very complex. And so my friend in front of me turned to me and said, what is dichotomy? I said, why are you asking me? I have no idea. Now the presenter is still presenting while we are talking. So only use the language, or only use words or sentences that the audience that you're speaking to clearly understand. I mean, the word dichotomy means the complexity of 2 things, you know, 2 things, and they're very complex. The dichotomy of these two things, okay? Okay, give handouts where appropriate. Again, where appropriate. So always use techniques to engage your audience. As I said before, some of the most powerful techniques that I've use in the training classroom is role plays. Role plays get people involved. You're using their brains. In fact, oftentimes people feel more engaged during the role play because their skills, their knowledge, their wisdom is coming out, and they are now taking over the course. Whenever, for example, if I'm doing a presentation skills course in a company, I always ask these questions. First of all, what is presentation? And I ask them for a definition. So what I ask them for is to give me a definition as to what presentation is, and that's one. Then I would ask them, what are the 3 most difficult challenges that you've ever been faced with during, presentation? And then I'll ask them another question. And then when they come back, they are now teaching. The interesting thing about it is everything that they now present back to me is what I'm going to tell them later. It's amazing. I said to one group one time, I think it was stress management, and I asked them, what is stress? I never forget this actually. I asked them, what is stress, and what are the causes of stress and the symptoms, and how do you overcome stress? And when they fed back to me those things, I was absolutely amazed, because it's exactly what I had on the PowerPoint. So I turned to them and said, why did you come in this course if you knew the answer? And oftentimes people know the answers. It's just that they're not doing it. They just need a kick, don't they? Don't we? We just need a kick to get on with it. So use techniques where possible, okay? Use techniques, tell stories, do role plays. You'll be amazed how the stories will stick in people's minds. And it's interesting, going back to Jesus, when he told those parables, it was many years later when they began to record them, and they were able to remember them with pinpoint accuracy. Why? Because stories stay in the mind much longer than you could imagine. Now, if I ask you to tell me about you, what will you be doing? Telling me a story. That's all you're doing. You're telling me about your childhood and when you were young and when you got married, and about your children. What you're doing, tell me a story. We go to the cinema, right? Or we watch films. What are we doing? Watching a story. We listen to the radio. Story. Okay? We read books. Someone's story. Children sleep better when you tell them a story. So storytelling is one of the most powerful techniques that you can ever imagine possible. So bear that in mind. Interpersonal and personal skills must be used when you're presenting and giving your public speech. What do I mean by interpersonal? The word inter means between. So it's those skills that you need to interact between another person, okay? Like listening skills. Listening skills is one of the most powerful skills needed in life, but yet it's one of the least taught. The majority of people have never been in a listening skills course, and I just don't have enough time to share with you, 6 key tips. Well, 6 key tips, and you may want to make a note of this, or you can come after the recording. I'll give you the 6 key tips. And these are the 6 tips that I use and master listening. Oh yes, master. Number 1, look interested. Number 2, inquire with question. Number 3, stay on target. Number 4, test your understanding. Number 5, evaluate the whole message. Number 6, neutralize and control your feelings. Look interested, inquire with questions, stay on target, test your understanding, evaluate the whole message, and neutralize or control your feelings. Those are the 6 tips that you need to know about listening, and practice them, and you become a master or mistress or whatever you want to use in no time. So listening and communication are interpersonal skills, negotiation, okay, persuasiveness and influence, attitude, skills, and knowledge. Now, let me say this again, and I want to put this in line with also assertiveness, is that you want to have the right attitude, the right frame of mind when you're presenting. You got to have the skills, you got to have the knowledge, and so on and so forth. I call it the ASK. Every job on the planet are based around ASK, attitude, skills, and knowledge. Now listen to this carefully. The more you improve your attitude, your skills, and your knowledge, the more money you make. I think I'll stop there just for a moment to get some water while you're meditating now. Since you may not have heard what I said, let me say it again. The more you improve or develop your attitude, skills, and knowledge, the more money you make, the more powerful you become, and the more people want to be in your presence. It's just a reality, all right? So work on yourself, build yourself up, become a great listener and a great communicator, and learn how to negotiate. These are skills that you can develop. You don't even need money these days to actually learn these skills. Just go to YouTube or go to webinars like these for free. All right, these are powerful mediums today where people are just giving away things for free. All right, persuasive and influencing skills. And always remember, develop your ASK, your attitude, your skills, and your knowledge. Now, whenever you're delivering a presentation, this is the key to your presentation, is your objective. What are your objectives? What is it that you're trying to achieve? For example, for me tonight is to share with you 13 key tips to enable you to become a better presenter and public speaker. So you should always have a clear objective of what it is that you're trying to achieve. A presentation without a clearly defined objective can be a disaster. Therefore, clearly define your objectives or objective. Ask, what does my audience want or need? All right, wants or need. Stick to the objective throughout the presentation. Don't veer off and go off track. Stay on target and give the people what they want. Always remember, and this is something that I have learned in presentation, always present the benefits, the advantage, and the result. Always take your audience to the bar. Benefits, 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 advantages, 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 results, result, result. What's the difference between a benefit and an advantage result? Well, really, they're all the same. But I just thought I would put together this bar for you. I always say to people in the course, take people to the bar. Not alcohol, not strong drinks, but benefits, advantages, and result. That's what you want to drum into your audience. Benefits, advantages, and results. That way you'll get people's attention. All right, that's 15 minutes ago. This is so powerful that many people miss it. All right, you always want to present in accordance to the need of the audience. You go with the need of the audience. I'm amazed sometimes when people are doing presentation, and even though the needs of the audience may change while they're doing the presentation, they do not change the presentation. They continue giving what they were given. Normally, for me, when I do a presentation in companies, I go by the need of the audience. Sometimes what I'm talking about is not necessarily what they need at that time. I may have to address a few questions, and those questions, I never see those questions as an interruption to my presentation. I see the question as meeting the people at the point of their need. So the more your audience is involved with your presentation, the more successful you will be. Therefore, let your audience participate in the presentation. Let them be involved in it. Almost design the course in such a way that it almost feels as if they're the ones running it. You know, one guy, after the day was about to close, I'd broken for tea break, afternoon tea break. He waited and noticed he took his jacket off, he put it at the back of the chair, and he stood there and waited until everybody left the room because he wanted to make a statement to me. And he stood before me with his hands in his pocket, his legs apart, and I'll never forget this. And he said to me, "Errol, I never realized I knew so much." You got that? He never realized that he knew so much. That way I knew I was on track. Why? Because I was using the people to run the course. I was getting them to answer their own questions. You see the point? The best teachers are not the ones who give you the answers. The best teachers are the ones that allow you to work out the answer for yourself. So listen to your audience and communicate effectively. Listen to them. Listen to them. If you don't hear what they're saying, you may miss certain vital clues. All right? Be sensitive to the needs of your audience. Okay? Be very sensitive. Don't be more concerned about finishing off your slides or finishing off your talk, but be very sensitive to their needs, because the reason why you're there is for their needs. And if you meet their needs, even though you didn't get to finish your PowerPoint or your presentation, you've probably accomplished more than you may ever imagine. So be empathic. Put yourself in the audience position. That's what the word empathy means. Is to feel what they feel, see it the way they see it, hear it the way they hear it, smell it the way they smell it, taste it the way they taste it. Get into their skin, get into their shoes and see it from their perspective, and you'll be amazed how much you'll be able to achieve in that time. I hope that makes sense. All right. Now, very last one. Style. Oh, this is crucial. You know, you're unique in your own identity because there's not another you anywhere in the universe or on the planet. There is not another you. There is not another you. Whether you be male or female, black or white, there is only one you. There's only one Errol Williams. No one can do Errol Williams like Errol Williams. Nobody. I am the best me that you can possibly get. Now, I don't compete with anybody else. Don't compete with, Miles Monroe or Anthony Robbins or T.D. Jakes or Miles Monroe, whoever. Don't compete with them. Learn from them, though, but don't compete with them. Be yourself. You must develop your own style. Once upon a time, I used to copy Martin Luther King. And I would sound like this. This is no word of a lie. I kid you not. I used to do public presentation and public speaking like this. Words are inadequate for me to express the deep thoughts and desires that flood my heart as a result of being here today. Yeah, I used to sound as crazy as that. And I used to wonder to myself, how come no one gave me an applause like they did Martin Luther King? In fact, they were laughing at me, really. And then I realized I was assassinating my own style, character, and personality, and I was a fake imitation of Dr. Martin Luther King. So I then decided, you know what? I'm going to be Errol Williams. If people don't like it, I have to apologize maybe and just wish them all the best. Because not everyone's going to like you or like your style. But you know what? Still be you. Because there will be somebody who like your style. Therefore, don't intimidate other people's style. Don't imitate other people's style, in other words. Don't imitate it like I did. All right? Learn from them. If you want to copy a certain thing, there's nothing wrong with that. But make sure it's your own style that you're developing. Develop your own style. Be natural and open. Just be you. I'm not pretending tonight. I'm not pretending to be somebody else. This is Errol Williams and this is me. Those who like it, I'm glad. And those who don't like it, I'm glad, because not everybody's going to like me. Not everybody's going to listen to me. But you know what? Thousands of people will listen to you if you just demonstrate and use these tips that I'm sharing with you tonight. You will find thousands and thousands and millions of people flooding to you. Not everybody likes T.D. Jakes or Billy Graham or Joyce Myers or Anthony Robbins or Dr. Miles Monroe. Not everybody listens to them. Some people can't stand their guts, but there are millions of other people who can and do listen to them and do learn a lot from them. So develop your own style. Be natural. Be natural and open. Be natural and open and honest. Be sensitive and courteous. Remember what I said earlier. Be gracious with people. Be gracious with people, but ruthless with time. Like I'm ruthless with time in the classroom, but I'm very gracious with people. What do I mean by ruthless with time? Well, if I say the presentation is going to start at 9:30, I'm here from 9 o'clock. Well, every time I go to a company, and I want to say this to you, let me just give you this particular time management tip, which is about presentation and public speaking. If you have a presentation to give, or if you have a meeting to go to at 1 o'clock, and you arrive at 12:30, now don't forget, the meeting is at 1 o'clock, but you arrive at 12:30, you're on time. If you arrive at 1 o'clock, you're late. And if you arrive anytime after 1 o'clock, it's unacceptable. Let me say this again, because you need to grasp what I'm saying. I may not be able to explain it fully. Let me say it again. If you have a meeting to attend at 1 o'clock and you arrive at 12:30, you're on time. If you arrive at 1 o'clock, you're late. And if you arrive after 1 o'clock, it's unacceptable. All right? Unacceptable. All right? Now, present a warm, positive attitude. A warm, positive attitude and behavior. I've already alluded to that earlier. Be warm, be open, be positive. All right? Even when things are not going your way, it's not going right, still be positive, still smile, still be charming about things, treat people well, and you'll be amazed how successful you'll become doing these things. Now, I want to end with a PowerPoint tip, because most people use PowerPoint these days, and I want to suggest that you use what I call the 6x6 rule. The 6x6 rule says when you do a PowerPoint slide, you don't want to fill it with lots and lots of information and pictures. You want to use what we call the 6x6 rule. Some people use it 6x4. 6 lines and 6 words per line. Now that's the general rule. Sometimes it's going to be a bit under, sometimes it's going to be a bit over. So if I go back here, why? If you notice, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullet points. If you count those words, you will see that I'm staying within that. If you go back here, you will see that the rule is really being kept. If you go here, the rule is being kept. So what I'm suggesting, because when you do it like that, the slide becomes easier on your audience. Okay, it's not clustered. Now, if you do have a clustered PowerPoint slide, well, my recommendation to you would be to build a slide. So in other words, you use animation to allow that to come on, but don't use animation that's going to distract from people. Now, whenever I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation, let's say at a wedding or at some baby dedication or something like that, then I got all these flash animation going all over the place. But if you notice, when the transition change, notice it's a very, very simple animation I'm using, and all the animations are the same. Are you with me? Very, very simple. You don't even notice what's going on. But if I was using all these things flying here and flying over there, then it becomes too distracting. So I hope that makes sense. Use the 6x6 rule, which is 6 lines and 6 words per line generally. You don't have to stick to it as a religious thing, but as a guide. Does that make sense? As a guide. If you're going to have a slide that's really clustered, then you want to use an animation, simple animation that brings, you know, one thing at a time or 2, etc., as the case may be. All right. All right. Let me therefore then ask if there are any questions. We've got 5 minutes to go. I think we did well tonight in getting through those points. But if you have any questions, please type those into the chat room so I can put my glasses back on and see if anyone has any questions for me. Then I would be more than happy to address any question. But if there are no questions, then I will wish you a wonderful night. I am always here every Monday night on our Bible studies from Monday 9 p.m. to 10:30, so it's an hour and a half. I always send out those links for those Bible studies. And every Thursday, like tonight, I do a webinar, life improvement seminar, every Thursday, normally 9 p.m. till 10. Tonight I decided to do it 9:30 to 10:30. As I say, the recordings will be there, so if you wish to have the recording, you can always email me or text me if you have my address, and I will send you the PowerPoint slide. Also, if you wish to donate to the cause of what we're doing, then you can take that link down, singlesdirect.net/donations, and you could make a donation to help us to run these programs. So want to wish you all the best. I think there's a question or comment coming through, so let me put on my glasses and see if I can read it. Thank you so much. Thank you as well for coming along, Denise. Appreciate you being here, and wish you all the best for you and your wonderful family. And I want to say again, thank you guys for coming into the webinar. I'm going to sign off at this point and bid you a good night. This time, I think there might be. Okay, I think that's it. So again, I want to say thank you very much for coming. Appreciate you being here. Wish you all the best for the night, and I hope that your presentation and public speaking skills will dramatically improve from these 13 tips I've shared with you. So take care of yourself and your family. Until next time. Bye for now.